I lost it.
Bernie got some, so that's what you'll tune into. That's the perception of vital energy. There's that hum.
Yeah.
Right?
I can feel the trees. I said, oh, what's going on? There's an electric wire under the tree.
Yeah, so you'll feel this hum, this vibration. And that's what you can tune into here. Initially, you'll feel, if you're vital breathing, you'll feel this repelling effect, right? And then if you go inside that repelling effect, you get that hum of energy. And that is one thing that the trees are really good for tuning you into. As you tune into the tree, and as you really connect to it, you'll start to feel that. Now, to return to it, this is always the issue, is having an experience and then going, I want it again. Give me that again. Where's that thing? I want it again. I had a drum teacher growing up who I was like, hey, every time you're here, I feel like I do this, like I'm playing these grooves really well. It's like so good. And then during the week, I can't do it like that. And he was like, yeah, you're trying to reproduce a thing. You're not doing a thing. You're not doing it organically. You're trying to reproduce what was, not working with what is. Very Zen drum teacher, right? And so if you are trying to cling to the experience you have with a feeling perception with a tree of the past, that's going to inhibit your ability to connect to it right now. You will be contracting to that mechanism, to the perception of the past. So what we want to try to do is touch, and remember the release is a stretch, right? The release is a stretch into the vital energy of the tree. So you stretch the mind, the will, stretch the fascia, and you stretch with the breath into the tree. And that's going to tune you more quickly into that feeling. But if you grab the tree, go, where is it? I want it back. I'm so peaceful with my Qi Gong. I feel so peaceful. Give it back. It's going to be very difficult to get back into that space.
It's almost like if you're not looking for it, it's there. When you start looking for it, it's not there.
Yeah. And so that is the release. That is the release. And it's sort of been an underlying theme for the retreat this weekend, and for all your Tai Chi, all your Qi Gong, all your meditation is release or surrender. There has to be this letting go, and that is the initiating factor. If we try to do it with non-release, with contraction, grab onto it, it's going to make things a touch more difficult. The release is what allows things to tune so the energy can move through. That's what allows the fascia to open up. So when Bernie was mentioning this vibration that he felt with the tree, and I can't get it again, so we went back to the tree. I tuned into the tree, and there it is. Then Bernie touched the tree, and I put my hand on Bernie and tuned Bernie into that. And he was, oh yeah, okay, it's back again. I took my hand up, he's like, oh, I can't find it. Tune it back, and oh yeah, I just got it there. So you'll get more accustomed to this. And we want to make sure we're sincere and we're not lying to ourselves. Oh yeah, I'm feeling a thing. Or feeling bad about not feeling whatever it is. You don't want that. Sincerity in terms of the connection. Sincerity with the gratitude, sincerity with the exercise, so there's not a part of us going like, no one watching, hope no one's watching, right? That's going to detract from the potency of the exercise and the ability for all of you to tune in to what you're doing. Now, something very interesting that happens with the Qi Gong. Let's say you have a property like this. If I lived here, go out every day, spend maybe 3-4 hours every morning, and for a few months, go 9 breaths or 9 cycles with every tree on the property. Tune in, every tree. And what will happen, and you may have noticed this, I noticed this with there was one tree in particular that was having this reaction. There is a welcoming, familial, I recognize it as like a brotherly type connection with the trees. And they reach out to you after you do this. They reach out, they support you. So you take care of them and connect to them, and then the trees will connect back to you. So the more trees you do this with, let's say you do all of them for a few months, then you have the whole property welcoming you. All of the trees, all the life on the property is welcoming you. And you'll notice when you walk by a tree that you've done this with, if you're good at it, do it once with the tree and it's going to be there. There's this pull of the tree toward you. The tree wants you to come back and water it, so to speak, with more of this. There's a really neat connection there. So there's a very welcoming type feeling from the forest that you're walking through. So you do this with each tree individually, or whichever trees that you happen to work with. And when you finish the exercise, let's say you do 4 or 5 trees over the course of an hour or something, you finish, don't finish and then just, okay, break time, mind on other things. Finish, and just like you walk out to the trees with a degree of reverence and good intention, attention, peace of mind, soft feet, right? Care for the environment, the earth with each step, care and attention towards the energy and the process you're working through, sincerity and connection to all of that. You want the same thing as you're walking back, right, to wherever you're going to close up the exercise. So you walk with care, and as you're walking, you're still peaking your perceptions of that energy. And within those perceptions, you walk by one of those trees that you worked with, and you feel an increased potency from that tree and a very positive type, cheerful type of relationship. So I was checking in on some of the ones that you guys had worked with, and then they were momentarily devoid of a human. And I walked by, and I was like, oh, yeah. It just made me laugh. Like, there's one that was having a real good time. I was like, this is awesome. This is real fun. So then you get all the trees, and you get a whole forest that's working with you. Once you have that, or as you get better at this type of exercise, or just more familiar with it, and your ability to connect improves, you've tuned into that hum you were talking about, and you can find that regularly with each tree individually, and you can notice the slight variations of that thrum, that hum of vital energy in each tree. Then you can tune into the whole forest, all the trees there, and you can do that exercise with the whole forest, where you raise the whole forest, help it raise up into light, and you're working that circulation with the whole thing. So that's what I was doing out there while you guys were working, is with you guys and the trees, just getting everything to start moving with that, so we could get more of the trees helping you guys out as well. So that could be a way that you end your practice of individual tree work, is go to a point where you can view with your eyes all the trees you worked with, and then connect to all of them at once. Maybe there's 5 of them, connect to them, and go through another 9 repetitions. The reason we use 9 is because that has a subconscious connection to continued rhythm, right? When you hit 10, you've finished, right? There's a stop point, but 9 has this cascading type of thing. So if you look into numerology, not so much the New Age stuff, even though it's still present there, but more so like the old numerology of the, I believe it's called the Sephirot. It's often a Jewish text, but you go back and the stuff is present. They have 1 through 10 or whatever, something like that, 0 through 9. And so 9 is a representation of this continuance, right? This continuance, this continuum of motion, of movement. So that's why 9 can be a good number. It's for that subconscious rollover effect. So you go to a place where you can see all the trees that you worked with, tune into all of them at the same time, and play through that. Now, when you are connecting to multiple things, that takes more flexibility of mind. Okay? So mental flexibility is very important. By working with one tree, you're developing the skill as a byproduct. You're tuning your mind into the tree. You become the tree, right? And so your mind takes on the shape of the tree. And the mind can take on any shape or any lack of shape, and the energy will form, vital or astral energy will form to the shape that the mind takes on. So if the mind is the shape of the tree, the energy will form to the tree. Now, mental flexibility becomes a very interesting and important skill, because we will often have habits of mental shape, habits of perspective. And if we can tune into a whole bunch of different trees and let the mind tune into that, oh, interesting, there's a different shape. The mind's ability to change shape improves. Just like you stretch your body, you can get into different shapes, you practice them. Oh, this shape, that shape, you get more familiar with different shapes. The mental flexibility keeps growing. You can let the mind tune into the shape of a rock, the shape of a flower, the feeling qualities of a flower, different from a tree. The feeling qualities of a rock, when you tune into that, different from that tree, different from that tree, different from that flower, that brush, that moss, that whatever. So the more, the greater a Rolodex of these feeling perceptions you can develop and mental flexibility you can develop, the more easily you can apply yourself to any meditative or metaphysical skill set you might be working on. Maybe it's a Tai Chi thing. Maybe you get really good at this. You meet someone who's real good at some specific thing with Tai Chi, some type of internal skill. Maybe like we looked at yesterday, the dissolving of pressure or absorbing it from one place to another. You can take your mind, you don't even have to touch them, you can perceive, you can tune into it. Oh, that's what that feels like. And then you can get it more easily. There's a lot inside this, whether it's an author or maybe you're wanting to write a bit and you can tune into an author you really like, the way a book is written, what's feeling behind the way the words were put together. Maybe it's with your work and there's an element that you don't understand, but someone else is real good at that side of things. The mind needs to reshape to be of the thing that you're looking for. And then the energy will change shape to support it, right? It will confine itself to that shape, and then the body will start to develop in a way that supports that mental shape that you're working with. So mental flexibility, very, very important. And the Qi Gong is a great, great, great way to get that to happen. Like that lesson comes in sideways with the Qi Gong. It's also a lot of fun as you tap into more and more trees in an area. All that energy starts to support you. You walk in there, and that hum, right, that thrum that you were getting, it's just everywhere. And this cycle of energy is just going. And that's one of the reasons I like to spend time outside a lot, and most of my pictures and stuff are outside somewhere. It's, that's where I feel the best. That's where I feel the least fatigued, and that's where I feel the most like a normal person in terms of the amount of vitality I have. So we tapped in, we followed one point of energy up, and then we followed one direction down, in, up, out, down, and over time that will evolve into the whole things moving simultaneously, instead of it being one point that's moving, or 2 points, whatever, that are moving. the whole cycle will be working, right? And that will happen over time. You'll tune in, you'll go up, and as you're going up, there's energy that's being pulled out, and at the same time, there's energy that's down, and at the same time, there's energy that's coming in. Just like if you had a water moving through a tube or something, right? It's the water's moving through the whole tube at the same time, right? It's not just moving through one part at a time. That's the idea. So over time, that will start to happen, and let it happen. Don't force it, it'll happen. And when it does, you'll have another increase in the amount of energy you're perceiving. So there's a lot inside of this tree Qi Gong. A lot. It's a great one to do. Go out every morning, find a big tree. If you have a park near you, find a big one, go for it. There's a big one at the entrance to town here, just on the I guess that'll be the north side of that main road as you come in. There's a big one. There's a bunch of dirt that was put over the base because they're making, I think, a new parking lot or something. There's a bunch of dirt there, so it'll be kind of hard to walk up to, but there's a big one there. Through the trails here, around the pond, there's a few more bigger ones. I really like this element of the training. This would be considered the nature magic side of the training. It's often bypassed on the meditative path, but I find it very fun, invigorating, and it can lead to a lot of skills, especially when you're developing a bigger and bigger Rolodex of feeling qualities that you can tap into. Because you can learn things a lot faster, and you tap into some things, and it just, like, okay, this pink of there was, at Jericho Beach, there were these rose bushes, and the pink of the flowers before they opened, they were still all bundled up for a couple weeks or whatever. And that specific color of pink tuned in, and I was like, oh, like I really like that one. So now I have that, and whenever I want, I'm go, okay. And then I can breathe vital energy into that and grow that feeling quality, release into it, grow it, and then I can bring that with me wherever I want. If I want that feeling that thing induces, the mental, energetic, and physical qualities, then I can reproduce that, but not reproduce, organically touch into that frequency or that feeling quality. So when you're having, a bum day, you go and you're stuck and you can't see a window, or you're stuck in a weird office somewhere, you go, oh, that tree at Lund was so good. Okay, you just go back there, tune in, and then you hit it right here.
So you don't need to be close to the tree. You can, like, if a tree in the distance, you can start.
If your mental transference skills are good. So begin for a long time with touching it, because then you get the physical sensation, smell the actual thing, feel the actual thing, see very clearly the actual thing, hear the actual thing, taste, touch the leaves to your tongue a little bit. Taste the actual thing, or the bark, or whatever. Obviously, make sure whatever you're doing that with isn't poisonous. So your senses can be a part of the process. As your ability to engage in mental transference grows, then you don't have to jump underneath a massive waterfall that's going to kill you to benefit from it. You can transfer your mind into that massive amount of energy that's pouring into that space at the bottom, and do that, and it just charges you right up. I do that with some places. I'm like, I literally like start spluttering and spitting when I'm trying to talk. I'm just like, there's so much energy that my eyes tend to be more baggy and stuff, like underneath the hollows. Those hollows fill out, and I was looking at footage of myself. I was gonna like upload it somewhere, and I was like, this looks ridiculous. I'm spluttering, I'm spitting, I'm like frothing at the eyes and the mouth. Everything is so full of energy. And you could see the tautness of the whole body. So much energy was going through, and it was the mental transference from, that was, I don't know, probably 200 meters away or so.
Oh.
And then because the mind is not subject to space, once you are working at that, on that plane, it can be anywhere on the planet or anywhere else. And that's where people start doing cosmological type of meditations and constellation type of meditations, planetary meditations. But all of that can start from the Qi Gong, mental transference. Whether you start with the tree, you want to start with the tree because it's live, it's nice, but eventually mental transference into a cup. Find the central or the pivot point beneath the cup or the emptiness, mental transference into anything. Find things like big trees that make you feel good and powerful. You can do this with animals. The preference tends to be predatory animals because they are the dominant force of the environment. Good to do once with everything, but if you're going to be tuning into things, better to be tuning into dominant forces of the environment and then prey, then molding yourself to the mind, energy, and body of prey animals, animals that are always trying not to be eaten. You don't want that to become part of you. Good to tune into it once, get the idea. Maybe you find like a deer really peaceful, and so maybe you keep that one because it makes you feel peaceful. But what also makes you feel really peaceful is the type of power you have if you're a tiger, right? Or like a grizzly bear, where nothing screws, there's nothing trying to eat a grizzly bear. How relaxing would that be, right? So if you can, let's say you see a bear, or you can feel that aggression, you see a bear going hunting or being aggressive, and you can tune into that dominance, and then just embody that, bring it in, breathe that in, grow it, release into it, and then you bring that out and you go for a walk like that. It's like, okay, there's something different about you. You go to a Kung Fu class like that, everyone's like, oof, don't want to work with this dude tonight. And a lot of Kung Fu systems have animals that they work with, different styles. And this is often thought of as just movement, just shapes and ways of moving. But there's at a deeper level, it's the personality, the energy of that animal that you want to bring into the motion. So if you're doing tiger, it's that quality of this apex predator. And if you are using animals and live things, good to have ones that are apex of the environment. The reason, like we mentioned, the big trees, you want it to have more energy than you so that it can lift you up with it. You can do this tree exercise with smaller trees, and it's nice, but they won't be able to bring you up as much. So it might be quite peaceful, but it won't necessarily have that drum kind of accelerating a Porsche or something, right? Anyway, any other comments from that? If there isn't, then we'll take a short break.
I'll just say that I found the air the easiest to engage in, and it sort of felt like when I could release into it. You know, when you're skiing and there's those little rope pull, or even a pama, where it's there, it's going by, and you hold on, and then whoop, there you go. So it's just sort of, not always, but mostly I could do the air, like it just went up.
Did you find that the presence of the tree increased that
Oh yeah,
pull up?
and I'd be sort of here, you know, coming up, thinking air, and then I'd get to about here, and then it would just go boom. That's where I would grab on. So it was at this point, and then it was so, it was strong enough that I wasn't doing it, and the speed changed, that it clearly was the energy and not my muscles or that kind of thing. So that was a good observation.
A really good indication that you're connecting into the energy of the tree.
Yeah.
When you feel it's stronger than when you're doing that exercise solo. So you could do that exercise away from a tree. It's a very common Qi Gong exercise,
Yeah.
right? And the idea with it is that you're typically dispersing your energy and stress out, you know, to the sides, and then things are opening up. That's why when you're doing Song Gong, I always tell you, wave the arms, because it's the opposite of that. We want to bring stuff in with the Song Gong, not spread stuff out. So people will do this, and it'll be spreading stuff out instead of consolidating it into the feet. But with this type of exercise, stuff is going out. So the tree is like cleaning you in this sense. You bring the energy up, expanding it up, out, and then that earth that's stretched down, everything gets grounded through the earth, and then you go again. So it can be done solo as well, but that what you experience, that's like a really good indication that you're tapping into the energy of the tree as well, that it's aiding you, because it's clearly more potent than when you were doing it solo. So that's really good. And if you're finding that you're getting stuck on some environmental things like maybe it's chilly or whatever, the ground's a little uneven or whatever, you just release. Number one, release, surrender, let go. The tree, like I said earlier, it's out there all the time for decades. Tune into that, tune into it, and let that energy of the tree stabilize your awareness and perceptions within the context of equanimity with the environment around you, with the wind, with the cold. All that stuff will disappear, those discomforts. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going hypothermic, but you won't be uncomfortable. Okay, so you can go through the exercise well.
I found out I was so freezing. I said, but every time I touch a tree, I feel warm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I really like that part. I want the life force. And then from there, like you said, that I use the tree to help me connect to all the environment, right? The freezing goes, every time it's like,
the heat's another good one. That's a good one. And that's one of the cool things if you're cold and the tree stuff is that, I feel warm. The first time I noticed that, I remember this, I was wearing these little like red woolly gloves. I was 14 and we had a year where it was minus 14, 15 degrees for a couple weeks, which is rare for Vancouver. And I remember, I touched a tree. I was like, oh, it's warm. I thought that was so cool. So those are all really good experiences to prove the efficacy of what you're doing to yourself. And if you're not having direct experiences like that, it's fine. Just keep doing the exercises. And again, with as much sincerity as you can muster. And stuff will start happening. If you're looking for stuff, it's probably you're gonna have trouble finding it. And I was like that for a long time. And then I almost started to take pride in it. I took pride in not having experiences like most people had, because I'm a more grounded person, that I'm not seeing lights and feeling this thing and that thing. And there's plenty of people in these worlds that will take pride in not having experiences. So it's weird, the things that the ego can attach to make you feel better about whatever you're doing, and not just feel better about you, but feel better than other people, to make other people worse, to make yourself feel better in your perceptions. Not a path you want to go down. So do the exercise, enjoy it, even if it's you're stretching, you're opening the body, and you're out in nature by a tree. Start with that. Of course, we have the building the ball. Tune into the ball. Tune that out. Saturate yourself. Back to the ball. Saturate the tree. Reach into the tree. Saturate the whole tree. Saturate the whole tree and yourself. Oh, that feels neat, right? So that's what I was doing with you, is tuning into the tree, through you, saturating you with the tree through me, and then the ground and then that's where you, oh yeah, I feel that again. So there's all the exercises we've been doing, these are like underlying type frameworks that you can apply to anything. They're not singular exercises, none of them. Like this, oh, we applied that to push hands very effectively to mitigate, move, dissolve, absorb points of contention. And that was just ball, field, ball, field. You can do that out with the trees. In your dantian, ball, field. Feel the life force of the trees after you connect with them. Water, fire, in, out, or into the bones, out, into the bones, out. All of these exercises can apply to so many things. So that's the purpose of how I'm teaching you. And the way we're working with this, by not learning just a bunch of movements that we call Qigong exercises, we are learning to work with Qi directly, with the elements directly. Any Qigong exercise is working with some type of earth, water, fire, air. So one of the elements is being worked through. Any Qigong exercise is working through those. If you understand those elements, you can then do any Qigong exercise and get more out of it because you're actually working with Qi. You're not only waving the arms around, the body around. So you build Qi, get familiar with it, get familiar with tuning into different things, which will help you learn skill sets faster on this path, help you meet people who have skill sets. You can tune in to how their mind works. So like most recently on that front, I had a friend who's real good at Tai Chi, that big guy I was telling you about, and the break your wrists when you push on his belly feeling guy. And so he had a particular feeling quality, frequency of surrender that he worked with, which resonated very strongly with a type of blue light. And so every time he touched me with that, I would see blue light. So he's like, what I did is I used that light, that particular color of light, the way it expressed itself behind my eyes and in my mind's eye, as the anchor or the trigger to get me into that state. And then I felt what he was doing. I dove into him and felt the process that he would engage with when he would do this particular type of surrender, this particular flavor of surrender. And then I would tune into that, release into that particular flavor of surrender, and then he was able to help me progress very quickly over the course of just a week or so, because I was tuning into that. So do whatever you need to do to tune into this frequency so that you can let go at this stage that I'm working on you at, and do that. So it allows you to have access to learnings, so teachings in a way that you wouldn't otherwise, because it's not running through this intellectual process. The intellectual process is good to have, so you understand what you're doing, so you can work through the mechanics of it. And if you're having trouble getting, like we said, getting to the field, you can go back to an earlier stage in the process. It's very good to have an intellectual understanding. But if we can bypass that and just tune into a thing, why not? And then reverse engineer the intellectual understanding from the experience, instead of getting the experience from the intellectual understanding. It's always going to be more potent from experience to intellectual understanding, in my opinion, which is why correlation is the enemy. If you're training down south there, and causation can be a very tricky thing to tune into when you're being distracted by all the things that it isn't, that the cause isn't. So anyway, that's our Qi Gong little talk through. It's an important exercise, which is why we've reviewed it for so long. Take a break. I don't know what time it is, but I'll check and then I'll tell you when to come back.